guys, welcome to Chord Suggests. What music fan hasn't had a discussion, let alone a full-blown argument, about who makes the list of the best drummers of all time? It's that time again, and we undoubtedly qualify these musicians based on different factors. Some people only care about technical ability, while others value simplicity with perfect timing. Some people also measure an artist by how much mass appeal they achieve and how many nominations or wins they get from the not always honest Grammy Awards. This video cares about all of those factors, weighing them together. Because face it, if a drummer plays so crazy that nobody enjoys it, it doesn't matter how advanced it is. The real challenge we faced in this video is boiling it down to only the top 10 best drummers, since there are far more greats than that. Join us as we dive into the 10 best drummers of all time. Let's talk about Bill Bruford on my number 10. Bill Bruford is a master drummer and percussionist who hit the limelight in the prog rock band Yes, who continued his meteoric rise with King Crimson and as the live drummer for Genesis. He went on to work in many other bands and landed in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Some of the top drummers in the world consider him one of their influences, such as Mike Portnoy and Danny Carey. His early technical prowess combined with jazz know-how and rock energy led to enough success that he was able to have the freedom to evolve further into what he calls a polymetric funk savant.
I got interested in the topic as I began to lose the will to play music. I thought, I'm not being very creative here. Why am I not being very creative?
Did you know, Bill Bruford earned his PhD in music from the University of Surrey in 2016. He cites Ginger Baker as one of his main drumming influences. He took lessons from Lou Pocock of the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra as a youth. On my number 9 is Stewart Copeland. Stewart Copeland is a drummer best known for his work with the band The Police. His unique drumming style, which incorporated rock, reggae, and punk elements, helped define the sound of the band and set them apart from their peers. Copeland's drumming is known for its precision, energy, and creativity. He is a master of syncopation and polyrhythms, and his use of electronic percussion and other effects helped expand rock music's sonic palette. In addition to his work with The Police, Copeland has also composed music for film and television, including the soundtracks for the movies Rumble Fish and Wall Street.
And so I was trying to think of getting a band together, and I had a name, The Police. I wrote a manifesto. We don't care about that. We just want to, laughable, really.
Did you know, Stewart Copeland is the son of Miles Copeland Jr., a well-known CIA agent who also managed the careers of several famous musicians, including The Police. Max Weinberg is on my number 8. Max Weinberg is known as one of the most reliable drummers ever, performing night after night with Bruce Springsteen and as the leader of the Max Weinberg 7 on The Late Night Show with Conan O'Brien and The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, of course. He leads his band with a drums-driven jump blues style. You know you have to be good to lead a band as a drummer instead of being a guitarist or vocalist. He considers Buddy Rich, Gene Krupa, and Ringo Starr as influences. Weinberg's philosophy of show up every time and do a good job is something we can all learn from.
And that's something I'd never experienced, that kind of focus, that kind of intensity and discipline, and it was immediately apparent. And then of course we played, I remember that everybody got a half hour, but that first night we played for 3 hours. So I went away feeling pretty good about that.
Did you know, Max Weinberg is the father of one of the Slipknot drummers, Jay Weinberg? He knew he wanted to be a drummer when, at age 5, he saw Elvis Presley and DJ Fontana play on the Milton Berle Show in 1956. By age 6 he was practicing, and by age 7 he was sitting in with bands. My number 7 best drummer is Buddy Rich. Buddy Rich was a jazz drummer and bandleader that was known for his speed and power without sacrificing his technique. He was a self-taught child prodigy, playing drums on Broadway at age 4 and in vaudeville shows. He began leading bands on international tours in his teens, and by 15 years old he was the second highest paid child entertainer in the 1930s. As big bands lost their appeal, he stayed committed to the art, performing sessions for Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong and making many TV appearances. He played with a traditional grip but would switch to matched grip when playing the floor toms and perform cross-sticking as one of his stick tricks. There was a period when he played with brushes nearly exclusively.
You don't really bang a drum. I sometimes get very upset when people say you hit a drum. You play a drum the same as you play any other instrument. It's, you can be as delicate as you can with a violin on this thing. You can be as subtle as you want, and you can be as powerful as you want. It depends on the kind of music that you're playing at the time and what the music calls for.
Did you know, among the incredible events of his life, Buddy Rich gave drum lessons to Mel Brooks when Brooks was 14 years old. He served as a judo instructor in the United States Marine Corps. Rich was short-tempered and would get into actual fights with Frank Sinatra, which wasn't good because Rich was a black belt in karate. Hal Blaine is another phenomenal drummer on my number 6. As far as we can tell, Hal Blaine is the most recorded studio drummer in history, having recorded in over 35,000 sessions and 6,000 singles. He's played on 40 #1 hits and 150 total US top 10 hits. He's played with all of the greatest musical acts, including those still popular today. And of course, he holds all of the awards possible. His legacy includes popularizing the disco beat in studio recordings. From 1966 to 1971, he played on every single Grammy Award Record of the Year winner from various artists. He reduced his session work as computers and drum machines became more popular, but continued to record for film, TV, and jingles.
And there are many, many wonderful stories that happen through those early couple of years before we really became established. And in the beginning, no one wanted us. But in a very short time, we were the #1 call people for everything.
Did you know, Hal Blaine began playing drums at 8 years old? His first big break was with Count Basie's big band. He would leave a Hal Blaine Strikes Again stamp on music scores and locations where he had played. His playing on the Ronettes' Be My Baby is the most imitated drum beat ever. My number 5 is Bernard Purdie. Bernard Purdie, or as some call him, Mississippi Bigfoot, was once the most in-demand drummer in the industry. It's easier to talk about who he hasn't played with than to list off who he has. He played so perfectly, even with complex drum patterns, that Steely Dan brought him in. And there's seriously some sticklers about everything. His precision with keeping time, his use of triplets and halftime, the Purdie shuffle, and his professionalism pushed him straight to the top. His syncopated ghost notes and fusing of styles such as swing, blues, and funk make him unique and extremely entertaining.
I'm happy. I'm happy to be able to play and use the talent that was given to me. That's what I needed because it was there. It was in me. It was all in me.
Did you know, Bernard Purdie learned to play drums from Leonard Haywood? He's played, even uncredited, on some of the biggest hits ever, even overdubbing for the Beatles. One of his early breaks was playing a session for James Brown. On my number 4, today is John Bonham. Usually considered the greatest drummer of all time, John Bonham of Led Zeppelin was known for his instinct and feel of the groove, which shined through his love of speed, fast kick drumming, and hard-hitting power. He received his first drum kit at 15 years old and was largely self-taught, emulating greats like Max Roach and Buddy Rich. Bonham's talent was so ferocious that modern drummers like Dave Grohl, Dave Lombardo, and Chad Smith all consider him their greatest influence. Though he excelled at dynamic rock drumming, he later began integrating funk and Latin styles into his work.
I think that they're coming to listen to what you're playing and not just to look at you and see what you are.
Did you know, John Bonham's drum solo Moby Dick would last over 20 minutes live on stage and the crowd loved it? Though he now has won all of the awards and recognitions, music critics didn't appreciate his hard and straight playing, saying he lacked swinging in his timing. My number 3 is Keith Moon. Keith Moon was the drummer for The Who, known for his early use of double bass drums in his drum kit. He would fit in drum fills in the craziest places in songs, emphasizing tom-toms and cymbals, acting more like an orchestrator than a drummer. He was known to mimic other greats like Gene Krupa and Hal Blaine but with a much more wavering timing. He hated drum solos and refused to play them even when pressured on live performances. He would destroy his drum kit on stage after nearly every show. He would also destroy entire hotel rooms and the building's plumbing. His destructive behavior led to his early passing, but even so, he managed to leave his mark as one of the drumming greats.
That's the feeling that I got when I was making it, and that's the feeling I get when I'm playing it. It's a celebration of the sort of music I've enjoyed, and that I still sort of hum in the bath or wherever I happen to be humming. And I just wanted to get him down.
Did you know Keith Moon was the inspiration for the Muppet character Animal? His destructive behavior earned him the nickname Moon the Loon. It's said that he came up with the phrase Led Zeppelin and incidentally inspired the name of the band Led Zeppelin. Let's talk about Neil Peart in the number 2 spot. Neil Peart is known as the incredible drummer for Rush, who chose him after an audition because he reminded them of Keith Moon from The Who. At the end of the day, he was nothing like Moon besides his hard-hitting style. Moon was very loose with his timing, but Peart is possibly the most meticulous and technical player of all time. I had the pleasure of seeing him and his unbelievably huge drum kit live before his passing. It wrapped around him 360 degrees and included digital samplers and much more. He played every part of a full band by himself during a solo.
Yeah, the consistency of all of the individual sounds is carefully worked up. Of course, it's a matter of force in bass drum, snare drum, just for driving the rhythm. But in tom fills and stuff like that, an early sound man that we had back in the 70s pointed out to me one time, he said, it's no use for you going doo-doo, bapa, whirring across the toms, because nobody can hear that. It doesn't signify anything. So that rested itself in my head, and from then I worked really hard on getting in power and definition into the fills. And that if I went away from snare drum, bass drum, that the same amount of power and intensity had to apply.
Did you know Neil Peart was Rush's primary lyricist? He also wrote 7 nonfiction books. Strangely, before he auditioned for Rush, he was part of a band called Hush. He often reversed his stick orientation, playing with the butt end out for increased rimshot capacity. He got used to it because he'd break the tips off his sticks as a youth and couldn't afford new ones. On my number 1 spot today is Ginger Baker. Ginger Baker is best known as the superstar drummer for Cream and Blind Faith alongside Eric Clapton. He was one of the earliest drummers to use 2-kick drums and record-lengthy drum solos. His use of matched grip, syncopation, African rhythms, and ride cymbals made him more of a bebop and jazz drummer than a rock. All of the greats recognize Baker's prowess, with Neil Peart saying that Baker set the bar for what rock drumming could be. His showmanship and playing are described as primal, extroverted, and inventive. He's even considered a pioneer of heavy metal drumming, though he didn't play in the genre and despised it.
What I found playing with them was great because blues and jazz are so close together.
Did you know, in the 1960s, Ginger Baker took lessons from Phil Seaman, a leading British jazz drummer, but was otherwise self-taught. After Blind Faith disbanded, Baker started and joined many bands, even operating a recording studio, none of which panned out for him. It's impossible to only mention the top 10 best drummers of all time. We could argue that so many other greats should be on the list. I feel bad for the other drummers out there that I'd love to mention. There are so many amazing players out there and we hold them dear in our hearts, but we're already being generous with the number of musicians we've listed as the top 10. For the sake of this video, we have to cut it off somewhere. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Kindly subscribe for more tips.